You woke before the sun, and you are wasting it. Not on anything dramatic. On the phone, on the snooze, on the warm argument with yourself about whether this is really the morning you begin. The light has not come up yet. The house is quiet in a way it will not be again all day. And you're spending the rarest hour you own as if it were the cheapest, scrolling past the one window the rest of the day will never give back. This is about that window, the thin band of time just before sunrise. Ancient traditions named it sacred and built their highest practice around it. Modern laboratories measured it and found a real, documented edge hiding in the same hour. Two civilizations, separated by thousands of years, pointing at the identical sliver of morning and saying the same thing in different words. Guard this. It matters more than the clock makes it look. The oldest of those voices comes from the Vedic and Ayurvedic tradition of India, which gave the pre-dawn hour its own name. They called it Brahma Muhurta, the hour of Brahma, roughly the 90 minutes before sunrise. The classical Ayurvedic text, the Ashtanga Hridayam, prescribes it as the ideal window for the highest work a person can do: study, meditation, the disciplines that need the clearest possible mind. The reasoning was not mystical decoration. The tradition observed, across centuries of practice, that the mind in that window is unusually settled and lucid before the noise of the day has had a chance to crowd in. So they fenced the hour off. They woke into it deliberately and gave its quiet to whatever mattered most. It was a devotion, an act of respect for a time of day they believed was different in kind, not just earlier on the clock. For most of history, that was a claim you either took on faith or you did not. And then, in our own century, the instruments caught up. Charles Cheesler, the Harvard sleep and circadian scientist, spent his career studying the body's internal clock, and his central finding lands almost exactly where the ancient tradition stood. Light, he showed, is the master synchronizer of the human body clock. The rhythm that governs your alertness, your hormones, your sleep that night, is not set by willpower or by the hour you wish it were. It is set, more than by anything else, by light reaching the eyes. And the most powerful time for that signal is early, near the start of the day. Get bright light in soon after waking, and you anchor the whole circadian rhythm, sharpening alertness now and steadying the descent into sleep many hours later. The tradition guarded the hour because the mind was clear in it. The laboratory explained why the hour is built to do that, and how to make it work on purpose. The neuroscientist Andrew Huberman has taken that science and pressed it into a morning protocol that millions now follow. View sunlight early, ideally outside, soon after you wake. Delay the caffeine an hour or two rather than reaching for it first thing. Move your body. Done together, he argues, these ride the natural rise of cortisol that the early morning already produces, turning a hormone people fear into the clean engine of the day, and setting a stable, repeatable rhythm of waking and sleeping. Notice what he is really doing. He is not inventing a new advantage. He is handing you the instructions for occupying the exact hour the Vedic sages fenced off 3,000 years ago. So stand back and look at the whole picture. A Sanskrit text, and a Harvard chronobiologist, and a modern protocol separated by millennia and by everything else are describing the same window. One named it the hour of Brahma and called guarding it a sacred duty. The other measured it in light exposure and cortisol curves and called guarding it an evidence-based edge. The same hour, the same privilege, seen from two directions. What was once an old devotion turns out to be a documented advantage. What the science now recommends turns out to be an ancient act of reverence. So ask what you actually do with that hour. For most of us, the honest answer is that we let it leak away before we are even conscious of it, The first light met with a screen instead of the sky, the clearest mind of the day spent on other people's noise before it ever touches our own work. We treat the pre-dawn window as dead time to be slept through or numbed past, not knowing we are sleeping through the one stretch of the day that two entirely separate civilizations agreed was the best of it. The ancients did not have more hours than you. They had the same 24. What they had was the decision to treat one of those hours as different, to protect it deliberately instead of surrendering it by default. And the science does not ask you to believe anything they believed. It only confirms what they were protecting was real. You can hold both at once without strain, the reverence and the evidence, the sacred and the measured. They are not in competition. They are two witnesses to the same fact. And there is something steadying in that. You're not being asked to invent a discipline out of thin air, or to trust a guru, or to take a single study on faith. You are being handed an hour that the oldest wisdom and the newest research both circled and underlined. All that remains is the smallest, most concrete act, to be awake in it, to meet the early light with your eyes and your attention, and let that one ancient, well-measured signal do its quiet work on the whole day that follows. So guard the hour the way it was always meant to be guarded. I wake into the pre-dawn window on purpose, and I treat it as the most valuable hour I own. I meet the early light with my eyes before I meet the day with my phone. I give the clearest hour of my mind to the work that deserves it most, not to other people's noise. I delay the caffeine and let the morning's own rise carry me, instead of overriding it. I move my body early, so the rhythm of this day sets itself the way it is built to. I honor what the ancients fenced off and the laboratories confirmed, and I refuse to sleep through it. That is the morning, not a new trick, but the oldest one there is, finally explained, an hour the wise guarded by instinct and the scientists guarded by evidence, waiting for you to simply be awake inside it. So guard it now, while the light is still coming up and the house is still quiet. And if this gave you something to protect, stay with the disciplined hour, where every morning is a call to begin with intention. Then come back tonight for the other half of the same honesty, because just as the morning guards the sacred hour of beginning, the night must accept the hour of passing. In tonight's reflection, the novelist Hermann Hesse on how every stage of life has its own season and its own hour, the Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius on time as a river that carries everything away, and the Buddhist practice of Maranasati, the mindfulness of our own finitude. The morning guards the hour you begin. The night accepts the hour you must someday lay down. Begin disciplined and reflective. Now wake.